Vanessa's Curse is a very important DLC for hand time, as it creates a huge amount of replayability for the game. It not only gives the online mode a reason to exist at all, but boosted the game's popularity after a few years of inactivity. But even over a year after coming out, there's still lots of tiny problems that need to be solved. First problem is that after over a year of the DLC coming out, it's really hard to have a big group of people to play the game together, even in the public lobbies. While there's no real way to solve this issue without making major changes to the mode itself to make it fresh again, one possible solution to at least make it less of a problem is to make accessing the basement only require 10 players instead of 12, because it still would be hard to get 10 players, but not nearly as impossible as 12 is right now. The second problem is this stupid thing right here. When you use the ice hat on it, your hitbox is still on top of the ice panel instead of being on the other side or making yourself invulnerable to getting cursed for a few seconds. So you'll try to escape, but the cursed player will still get you because your hitbox is still on the same side for some reason. You have to wait until the animation is done to actually reach the other side, and it takes 2 to 3 seconds to actually go through the whole animation and reach the other side, meaning using this as an escape option isn't actually an option. I briefly mentioned the solutions just a few seconds ago. Just either have the hitbox be on the other side, or just make Hackett invulnerable to getting cursed for a few seconds. I can understand not wanting to make Hackett invulnerable to getting cursed for a few seconds, but it'd be easy to counter someone just spam going through the ice tunnel over and over again. The next problem I have is the icon reveal event. The icon reveal event is really good for helping Vanessa's team catch up in case they're falling behind and getting players cursed, because it can be hard sometimes. But it still happens once there's few players left on Snatcher's team. And while the icon reveal event itself is technically beneficial for both sides, it helps Vanessa's team more than anything. So when there's few players left on Snatcher's team, the icon event should just stop happening. The next problem is the roulette event. It is kind of really busted in 4 different ways. Roulette problem number 1. Once a team gets ahead, the roulette isn't respun. So if the roulette is spun for Vanessa's team, but then Vanessa curses a bunch of players before or during the roulette, Snatcher doesn't then get his own roulette, even though they're at the disadvantage now. So the benefit for Vanessa's team should be cancelled, and then Snatcher gets his own roulette instead. Roulette problem number 2. The roulette is really bad at determining which team is at a disadvantage. Let's say that all except one player is cursed, but they have like 24 out of 28 crowns, and the roulette will probably spin for Vanessa having a disadvantage, even though Snatcher is currently at this disadvantage. The roulette just isn't really good at detecting the balance of players between both teams and the amount of crowns Snatcher's team has. Roulette problem number 3. The sprint steal benefit is almost useless, as the sprint hat isn't the fastest way of moving. The fastest way of moving is to dive and then cancel the dive and roll off of it as soon as you hit the ground again. The sprint hat does let you turn corners fast, but overall it's not nearly as much of a hindrance as other benefits are to Vanessa's team. Roulette problem number 4. The sudden freeze event. The sudden freeze is slightly more beneficial for Vanessa's team than it is for Snatcher's, as you can get caught much easier when you can't control yourself as much. Sure, it's true for Vanessa's team too, But say you're turning a corner and one of Vanessa's puppets catches up to you because you can't turn the corner fast enough, and before you can move again, you're caught. The next problem is just a bunch of teeny tiny glitches that get in the way too often that just were never patched fully for some reason. One of them is the game breaking and saying that there was an early win as soon as the last crown is collected or the last person is caught. It happens way less now than when the DLC launched, but it can still happen and it's really annoying. These next two glitches are way worse though because they benefit one team specifically and basically gives one team the win for free. The first one is a player getting cursed for no reason. I've had it happen to me and I've seen it happen to other people where they get cursed for no reason. No one caught up to them, they didn't fall into a pit, they just get cursed for no reason. They weren't touched by a cursed player, they didn't fall into a pit, they just get cursed for some reason, even though nothing should have made them get cursed. This next glitch is the opposite of the cursed one. It's that sometimes on Snatcher's team, the amount of crowns that are collected randomly skyrockets. One time I was playing and it was just the start of the round and the whole team, it was a giant group, only got like a few crowns so far because the game had just started. And suddenly the crown amount skyrocketed to 26 out of 29 for seemingly no reason. It was just random. So yeah, that definitely needs to be fixed because that just screws over whoever got cursed first, because now there's basically no way of them winning. This next general problem may just be me, and it might be related to the next problem I'm about to mention, but the hitbox of cursing another player seems to be way bigger than Hat Kid herself vertically. It just doesn't make any sense. This problem is also related to getting tagged. Getting tagged is from the tagger screen. The person doing the tagging is what counts and not the person getting tagged. While the person tagging may seem unfair to them to not have their screen be the one to do the tagging, because then they don't know where the person could be because of lag. It's even more unfair to the person getting tagged because on their screen they weren't that close to the cursed player, but because of that little bit of lag they stopped for like less than a second on the tagger's screen, and so they get cursed despite on their screen being ahead of the cursed player still, which is really annoying. This next problem is with waiting for a match to start. First, there's basically nothing to do but to interact with other players while waiting for a match to start. While interacting with other players can be fine, with only the limited text options and stickers to choose from, it's not the most time-fulfilling thing to do while waiting for those 30 seconds for the match to start. Second, and much more importantly, is having an option to leave the queue that you entered that starts the match. It's a basic option for any online game, is to leave the queue, but it just doesn't have that option for some reason. Next problem is with getting hit by other players. Getting hit is really annoying. It could be cursed players taking revenge for you cursing them, or someone trying to prevent you from blowing out during the first 30 seconds, or it could just be a complete accident from someone trying to throw the potion at the wooden planks. No matter what, it's really annoying, and it just sucks. It shouldn't happen, because there's no need for it at all. This next problem you've probably run into if you've played Vanessa's Curse for more than 5 minutes. In the map, there's tiny differences in height all over the place, near the entrance of the manor, the pathways on the outside of the manor. It's just a bunch of tiny, minuscule differences in height between the floor below them and the actual tiny difference in height. And they're mostly, obviously, just supposed to be visual. But once you're diving, which again is the fast way to move, so you're gonna be diving, you bump into them a lot, and it's really annoying because like you either are running away and then you accidentally bump into a thing that was only a tiny difference in height, and so you get cursed, which is really dumb, or you're chasing someone to curse them and you bump into the thing and you lost track of them now. You can't get them anymore because you just bumped into the thing and you're not really going to be able to catch up anymore. It's just really dumb, annoying, and gets in the way. It should just be a texture and not an entire separate thing that just gets in the way too much. This next problem has another thing to do with the DLC being over a year old. The number of players in each lobby is dwindling, but for some reason there are so many public lobbies. It doesn't seem like a lot, it's only 7, but because of how few people still play in the public lobbies for Vanessa's Kiss, that amount of lobbies just spreads the very few amount of players left playing the DLC in the public lobbies even thinner for no reason. So I would suggest removing the Tag 3 and Tag 4 lobbies, because no one's ever really in them anyway. So Tag 3 and Tag 4, at least for right now, aren't really necessary because of how few players are still in the public lobbies. This next problem is sort of with how the game is set up. The game is set up so that to be good, you have to memorize layouts and get good at jumps, which you have to do with practice and stuff. The problem is there's no way to practice other than playing in the mode. The problem with playing in the mode is that, well, the public lobbies are dwindling, and at some hours, there's not really anybody playing. But playing online is the only way to practice, unless you buy another PC, which isn't exactly the cheapest and most accessible option. So, how about adding a recon where you can tour the stage and look at the entire map and just check it out and practice jumps so you can actually do this stuff, and have it only be accessible in offline because you would have to duplicate the map for online, which would be annoying for them to do. Just have an option while offline to recon the stage so you can just practice jumps and memorize the layout. There's no reason to not have that, because it would be really easy to implement and would make a lot of people, including me, way better at the DLC. This next problem may seem weird at first, but you're gonna have to hear me out on it. Before we discuss the problem though, I want to talk about the solution. Make it so that the map is always the same for everyone. It sounds weird, I know, but again, just stick with me. So, once you load into Vanessa's Curse, sometimes a match has already started. You wait out and you check in the spectator mode so you can see the match. Well, you got nothing else to do. But before you joined the lobby, some buttons on the map or some of the boards throughout the map probably were activated or destroyed. But you can still see them, and it's really weird to see players jumping through things that are there, and it's just impossible for you to know whether the thing's actually broken or not because you just loaded in. So you have no idea what buttons are pushed and what boards are broken. But boards and buttons aren't the only differences that are possible. There's one other possible difference, and that is with the dweller bells. Now normally this isn't a problem because the dweller bells are normally timed. After a while they shrink back down, and so it's not really a problem. But there's one dweller bell that doesn't have a timer and just lasts forever, and it's right by our good old pal, the ice panel. That section is such a problem. Anyway, so once you're up in this area, you normally hit the doorbell to at least prevent one of the 4 routes to get up to the area. The other ones being a good jump, the balloons, and of course the ice panel. So the problem with it having an unlimited timer is that it never shrinks back down. But for you who just loaded in, it starts as shrunken down. Now normally the game resets the map. All of the boards that were destroyed, all of the buttons that were pushed, all of that are reset. Everything is reset, except for the dweller bells. For every other dweller bell, it's not a problem because they're on a timer, but for the one not on a timer, well, it's activated forever until someone else hits it again. And for you who just joined in, it's not activated. I mean, you can go up the platforms while everyone else can't. This is not good because it gives you a benefit. Sure, it's a minuscule benefit of having one more option of climbing up to a super small area of the map, but you shouldn't have a benefit for joining in the middle of a match. And since Vanessa's Curse is an online multiplayer versus mode focused on your skills and not any sort of luck, this is really dumb. Having any advantage for any ridiculous reason like that is not something that should be in the game at all. It wouldn't even take Gears for Breakfast that long to fix this. They wouldn't even have to edit the code that much. This is because the dweller bells already semi-reset in between rounds. How is this possible? Well, let me just explain it. If you activate the dweller bell in a first round, and then in the next round, even if no one new joins, and you go and hit the bell again, it doesn't shrink back down, but stays the same size. So basically, it's completely reset, except for the actual size of the thing, because the dweller bell is now saying to the game, hey, I'm small variation right now, because you reset me. Now I'm small, except I'm still big, so I'm deactivating the platforms. But I'm small, so when someone hits me, I have to go to the big size. So the dweller bell has to be reset in some way for that to happen. So it wouldn't take that much of a code change to have the dweller bell fully reset instead of semi-reset. It's still a super small problem, but because of how easy the fix is, it shouldn't be a problem to fix. It should just be done, gone, just like that. And then there's the final problem, and it's been right in front of your face the entire time. The game being over a year old, so people aren't playing it anymore. People like me, who didn't really get that good of a chance to play it before, well, now we're kind of out of options. We could go to some Discord and hope there's some people there that want to play Vanessa's Curse, but if not, then oh well, you can't really do anything about it. Just going to the public lobbies doesn't work because, well, there's barely any people in the public lobbies anymore. And the reason for this is that for the people that have been able to play the game much, it's been over a year and the mode's getting kind of stale. So why would they play the mode when they can play some mods instead? There's only really 2 solutions to this problem, and both of them involve adding something new to the mode. Now, adding something new would cost money, and no company would spend money on a thing that wouldn't sell more of it. So the 2 solutions are add a new map, and because company needs to make money, it would be a DLC to a DLC, which is not good. Or we could do the cheaper and easier solution of adding a new mode. Now, adding a new mode sounds like it would cost a lot, but the idea I have for a new mode wouldn't take a lot of time. At least I don't think it would. So here's the idea. One player is not cursed and everyone else is. And this mode would require at least 3 players because of how it's designed. So the only non-cursed player would get 30 seconds to go and hide. And then after 30 seconds are over, the cursed players get released and try to find the one hiding player, with the goal being to survive as long as possible and to get as many crowns as possible. There'd only be one crown spawned at a time, and crowns would spawn less often, and we'll get to why that is in a second. Obviously, the icon reveal and the roulette events would be removed because those would be bad for the mode. They just would not work for the mode at all. Because with the one player trying to hide, an icon reveal would just not work, or just give away the location in a minute, which would just not be fun for them. So, once this person gets caught by one of the cursed players, we do a basic calculation. So, we take the number of cursed players and add that to the number of crowns the person surviving collected. Then, we take that number and multiply it by the amount of seconds that the player survived. The answer to that equation is that person's total score. Then, the next player, it's their turn to try and survive, and then the next player until everyone's had a chance to get a score. Once everyone's gotten a score, the person with the highest total score wins. Let's just do a quick example. Say someone survived for 73 seconds and collected 3 crowns while escaping 5 cursed players. 3 plus 5 is 8, 73 times 8 is 534, which is that person's final score. I believe this idea of a new mode I have would be a basic and easy to implement option that is way more replayable than the original mode, because the original mode is based on the map and reacting to everything that happens. And the more you play it, the more you can react to it. Whereas in this new mode, while you still have to react to stuff, it's also more replayable depending on the people you play with, and also trying to get as high of a score as possible. That's all the problems I had with Vanessa's curse and how I would solve them. Do you have any problems that I missed, or do you have your own new mode idea? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, bye bye.